service. 2, I have served in various capacities. 1, I have also served as a principal at different levels. Currently, I'm a senior principal. I have served my colleagues as a chairman of Kenya Secondary School Aides Association, as the chairman of Bureti Sub-County for 11 years. I was also the chairman of Kericho County for 6 years. I was a member of the National Governing Council for 6 years. I was the secretary, Kesha, Rift Valley, for 4 years. All in all, I want to say this position grants me the opportunity to utilize the experience, the expertise that I have got. I also want to say on top of that, I have Masters of Arts in Education and International Development from the University of London. I got a scholarship from the Commonwealth, that is 2007 to 2009. Having attained that master's degree, I felt if I would get an opportunity, I want to say that having had the experience of serving as an administrator, as a leader to the principals, and also as a teacher handling children, I feel this position, if granted, should be the right position for me, because I'll bring in all that experience that I've gathered and implement the policies that we have here. Thank you.
Mr. Tonui, I've just learned that you have a master's and you have a degree, but I've not heard you telling us the primary school that you went and even the secondary school.
Sorry, I started from the top. Maybe I'll start from the bottom. I started at Tebesonic. Those days, it used to be nursery school. And then I went to Tebesonic Primary School for 7 years. I'm sorry for this. Sorry. I'm sorry, very sorry. I did not switch it off. And now I'm switching it off. So I started at Tebesonic Primary School for 8 years. And then I went to Samoa Secondary School in Andy Hills, where I was there for 4 years. I passed well at the Tebesonic Primary School. It was a public school. And I used to foot for 6 kilometers daily and 6 kilometers back. Where I live is Kabushendu Primary School, Kabushendu Village, but Tebesonic is roughly between 5-6 kilometers. But I used to walk. And I'm happy God accorded me the opportunity to conclude my primary school education. I went to Samoa Secondary School in Andy Hills. And then I also passed and went to Longisa High School. That time it was mixed for A-levels, where I passed and went to University of Nairobi to pursue a course in Bachelor of Education, Arts. After that, I worked for 14 years as a high school teacher, and I applied for a scholarship that was advertised. And out of the 4,000 applicants, because it was for the Sub-Saharan Africa, I was one of the 20 who was selected to go to London to pursue the course of Master of Arts in Education and International Development. So having acquired that, I also got a diploma in institutional management from Kenya Education Management Institute. I also have a certificate of institutional management from NARET, National Religious Education Teachers, and quite a number of workshops that I have attended to build up on my experience as an administrator and as a manager and also as a teacher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tonui. Before we continue with questions, let me ask the members in the panel that if there is anyone who has interest, so that when we vet the nominee, we know that we'll be doing the right thing as the members of the panel. Being the chair, let me give the chance to members who have interest to declare. Those who have the interest to declare.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tonui is from my ward. I wish you the best, Mr. Tonui. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Okay, honorable member, I think it is in order you tell us what we are going to do here will not interfere with the interest that you know Mr. Tonui coming from your ward.
Mr. Tonui is a good person. Ni mtu mwenye anafanya kazi, so natakia mema. Asante.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Youth, I know he has told us that there is no anything that will make a conflict of interest during this vetting. Any other member? Any other member? Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Tonui.
Yes.
According to your rich CV, can you list any scholarship, fellowship, honorary degrees, academic or professional? I think that one you have shared with us. Have you made any publication or writings?
Not yet, except my master's thesis, which I did on teaching and learning of science education in Kenya, with a specific emphasis on Kericho County. That was my master's thesis.
Okay, and I think it is accompanied with your CV.
Yeah.
Public office, political activities and affiliation. List chronological any public office you have held or are currently holding, including the terms of service and whether such positions were elected or appointed.
Well, other than serving the Teacher Service Commission as a public servant, I have not held any other office. I've been the principal, and as I stated earlier on, I'm the senior principal from 2021 under the same Employer Teacher Service Commission. I was also principal 2 from 2014 to 2020. I served as principal 3 also from 2005 to 2013, and as a deputy principal Tengecha Boys High School from 2003 to 2005. I have served as a principal in 3 schools: Cheborge Boys High School, Chemoiben Secondary School, where I started a school with only 11 students and left there when there were 279. Then currently I'm serving as a principal at Kipkori Salat Secondary School in Bomet. So it has only been in the service of teaching. Thank you.
Not political?
Not political.
Okay. Are you a member to any professional nursing?
A member of Kenya Secondary School Heads Association.
Okay, another question. Have you ever been dismissed or otherwise removed from office for a contravention of the provision of Article 75 of the Constitution?
No.
Have you ever been adversely associated with practices that depict bias, favoritism, or nepotism in discharge of public duties?
No.
Pro bono or charity work, donation to charity. What have you done by a way of pro bono or charity work, listing specific instance, the amount contributed, and the amount of time devoted to each?
Thank you. I may not have been involved in major charitable activities, but one that strikes my mind is this one of, there was a dam, Solai Dam, where many people suffered. And we have what is known as Kenya Digital Principles Forum, where we contributed each 3,000 shillings. And I think we took roughly 500,000 to donate to the victims, the survivors, and even those who had lost their people, so that they would be assisted. Number 2, I would remember also there was a case of a patient who had cancer in Kitale. And using the same forum, we collected funds and assisted in getting proper medication for the lady. Others is mainly in support of the children from vulnerable backgrounds. Like currently, I have adopted a child whom I'm educating. He's currently in university. I also have helped so many students in school, those who do not have school fees. Sometimes it takes the principal to understand a case and a situation. You'd find a child may not be paying anything, but at the end of the day, you can support that child, allow him to stay in school until he's through. I have in mind one who is currently a senior Air Force officer. I would not want to mention his name here, but he was in school and he was from very poor background. He could not raise fees. I was a teacher, class teacher, and I remember talking to the principal who really listened and allowed the boy to conclude. I would say briefly that is the far I've gone. Thank you.
Thank you for such contribution. Have you any objection to making of inquiries with your present employer, referees, in the course of consideration of your nomination as the CEO, Education, Culture, and Youth Affairs?
I have no objection. I have confidence in my referees and my employer.
And if yes, kindly explain.
Sorry?
If yes, that you have no objection.
I have no objection if you can ask them about me.
Okay. According to your CV, can you list for us 3 referees that you have stated in your CV?
Well, the first one is Professor Chris Yates, who may not be a resident of Kenya. That was my supervisor in master's program. Professor Chris Yates is a senior lecturer, University of London. But the people who are accessible locally is Professor Kipngeno, who has been a VC Kabianga University. We also have Mr. Philip Chirchir, who is a CDE Bungoma, and I have Pastor Kilel, who is also a renowned pastor in our community.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me ask Honorable Philip Mutai to take us through the next question.
Thank you. So, I want to ask you on matters of income, derived income or future benefits. List the source and amount and dates of all anticipated receipts from derived income arrangements, stock options, and completed contracts, and the future benefits which you expect to derive from previous business relations, professional services, farm membership.
Is that personal income?
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently, my income is mainly from my salary, and from the farm. I have a farm, 8,000 bushels of tea, and the overall, including the farm that I've inherited from my parents, I think should be around 7 acres. And I've also planted a substantial amount of bananas, around 1 acre, and this is also giving me income. I have dairy cows, which is also giving me income, though there are not many, I think 2 by now. And I've also started a school in partnership with other members of our family, and it has not yet picked up, but I would think that would also be another source that can generate income in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tonui. Outside commitment during service in office, do you have any plans, commitments, or agreements to pursue outside employment with or without compensation during your service in office? If so, explain.
I do not intend to engage much outside my job. Like you have heard, my job has been that of a principal in a boarding school. That takes almost 100% of my time. So I'm used to confining myself fully to my employment, and sometimes only whenever I'm out for holidays and weekends, I would also engage in 1 or 2. But as you have heard, these are activities that are just within reach at home. Tea, talk of cows, and that school which is just within the precincts of our environment at home. But most importantly, we delegate to other people. But personally, I do not intend to spend any time doing other activities other than the job that I'll be given, if I would be given.
Okay, Mr. Tonui Arjoinda, I've realized that you are the principal. Your current position is that you are the principal.
Yes.
To a school. You are being fettered to an office of CEO in charge of education, in charge of education, and I know this is a department that will be the AIE holder. Yes. So our question is, being the principal, I know that you have been transacting a lot of business in the school. Do you have any bending works or contract that you have awarded yourself in a said school? Or you want to tell us you are not waiting anything from that school apart from your salary?
I do not have any contract, because if I had a contract in school, that would create a conflict of interest, and also it's illegal. So I do not have any contract that I have taken in that school or in any other school in Kenya. Okay. I have only been serving, and I've been doing things on behalf of the government, like whenever we're giving out contracts through procurement, then I become a central figure as an AIE holder. But I've never used it to give myself any contract.
Or any other person from your family?
Yes, no.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Next question. Let me ask Honorable Kibet to take us through. Next question.
Thank you. Through the chair, Mr. Tonui, you have explained the sources of income. Are you able to segregate or to give us the figures you are earning from the income you have just said? Do you know the amount for the preceding year and this current year, the preceding year before your nomination and this current year we are in? Are you able to segregate or to give us the exact amount you have earned from the sources you have just mentioned?
Thank you. I may not be very precise, but at least I have a rough figure, because these are things I handle every day. From tea, I collect roughly 18 to 20,000 a month. It would have done much more of that with closer supervision, and you know the business of tea, how it behaves when you are away. And if it is 8,000 bushels, you know, that could give me much more. So if I am closer, I could even be getting up to 40,000 per month. But currently, I'm doing between 12 and 20. Then on my salary, of course, as a senior principal, my salary ranges between 120 and 150,000. Save, of course, for other liabilities, loans, and the others. And the net might be surprising if I was to state it here. But overall, I earned that kind of salary. And when it comes to the dairy, it has not yet gone far, but I think it is at the moment doing around 5 to 10,000 a month. And with closeness also, it can give me much more than that. For the school, as I said, it has not yet peaked. In fact, we are operating at a negative because of the population and the economic situation of the parents. They hardly clear the fees. So many a times we spend whatever we have to keep it running. But if also it is managed, and if the economic conditions changes, I'm sure it can give quite some substantial amount also. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask Honorable Iri, number 10.
So, thank you, Chair. So let me congratulate you first, Mr. Tonui, for making or passing the interview and making up to this level. And we've seen your rich CV, and I know you've worked, though you almost answered what I'm almost asking you, but you also have to state it. Let me say, in short, what is your net worth?
Okay, net worth. Net worth, if I would bring all those things together, I would put it at around 20 million, if I include the house and other small assets that I did not mention. I have been talking of income only. But when we talk of other assets, I would say my net worth as at now should be roughly 17 to 20 million.
Thank you.
Mr. Tonui?
Yes.
Kindly tell us, if you say 17 to 20.
Yeah.
I think
I break it?
From 17 to 20 is a difference of 3.
Yes.
Can you tell us probably exactly?
Let me put it at 20.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, 20.
Let me ask Honorable Edna to take us through the next question.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. My question is that using statutory legislation as your point of departure, what is your understanding on bursary allocation process.
Thank you. Bursary allocation is a fund that that has been approved by the county assembly. Of course, it has to be within the budget, and once it is budgeted for and approved in the appropriation, then it comes to the bursary management board, which dispenses the amount to the bursary committee at ward level. While at the ward level, we have a committee that dispenses of the same, and the beneficiaries are supposed to apply. On applying, then the ward committee, where the ward office coordinator is the one who is an ex officio or the secretary, and where we have, I think, around 6-7 other members to look into and to vet the applicants. Once these applicants have been vetted and the list prepared, it is forwarded now to the county, where again we forward and we allocate the funds as it is in the 2014 Bursary Act that was enacted and revised or amended in 2016. But when I look at it legally, all provisions have been put in place to ensure that it is being given out equitably and fairly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tonui. Let me take you through another question. Potential of conflict of interest.
Yes.
Identify the family members or other persons, parties, categories of litigations or financial arrangements that are likely to present potential conflict of interest. When you first assume the office being vetted for, which you have been nominated to, explain how will you address any such conflict if were to rise.
Thank you. First, conflict of interest arises when the duty you are supposed to undertake meets with personal needs or things that are individual, that are not public in nature. What I'll do is first, like one of us have done today, is to declare. If there is any interest, you declare first. Like a neighbor would apply for a job, and I would be in the team of those people who are employing. So I'll declare first that conflict of interest, so that I allow the process to be free and fair without influencing or making a decision that is bent to deny the rightful persons the opportunities. So I'm saying in brief, I could get a child who is qualified for a job where I'm the one in charge. I could get relatives, neighbors, friends, and many others. So the first thing is on employment, and I'm saying I will not at any point use my position to favor anybody, but I'll use the laid down procedures and regulations to ensure the rightful people get the opportunities. Number two is on the question of, like, we have contracts. Sometimes you can find within the department there are contracts, and you will find that somebody may be influenced to be part and parcel of the exercise. I would remove myself completely from any contracts, so that I allow a flawless contracting system, so that I become a better arbiter and a very objective person. Because if I'm part of the exercise, it will be so difficult for me to dispense justice and fairness. So I will try as much as possible to remove myself from anything that can contradict or contravene the law. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask Honorable Bafina to take us through next.
Okay, Mr. Tonui, have you ever been charged in a court of law in the last 3 years?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tonui, have you ever been advancedly mentioned in any investigatory report of Parliament or County Assembly or any other commission of inquiry in the last 3 years?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, let me take you back. Do you have any honors or awards? So list any scholarship, fellowship, honorary degrees, academics. Do you have any honors?
Yes, one is the scholarship that I got from Commonwealth. That was in the year 2007, where the Commonwealth Commission of United Kingdom paid for me the entire master's program, upkeep while in London, and everything else until I graduated. That was the first one I received. 2, after graduation, they sent a letter to me acknowledging that I had performed well in my work, and I thought that was an honor. My employer also, while I was the chairman of Kericho County, I remember mobilizing my colleagues, and we helped in ensuring that the operations in the office were supported, especially on the side of they had just entered a new office, they didn't have anything, and we made sure that the office was subdivided and made to be in good shape. And they gave me a letter to that effect, that this was good, because we used whatever we had to help them work better and effectively.
Okay, Mr. Tonui, we want to know, now you are the principal.
Yes.
You have a capacity of, let's say, workers in your school, let's say not more than 50 or not more than 100.
Yes.
You are now being fettered to a position of a CEO, who is also a AIE holder of education,
Okay.
whereby we have roughly 800 ECD teachers, compared with 100 staffs.
Yes.
How will you manage with that big number of staff now compared with 100?
Thank you. One, the skill of human resource management is key and critical in managing personnel. I've been in that position for close to 20 years now, managing different levels or cadre of workers. Though they were confined to one compound, and therefore they could not have been as many as the 800, but I think I've gathered the skills, the experience to manage them. I would therefore say the 20 years that I've managed them have exposed me to a lot of human resource challenges that, when given this chance to handle the 800 ECD teachers, and in this case I understand it's 1,200, it will not be a difficult feat for me, because I'll be in a position to make regular visits where possible and where budgeted for. I'll also be able to do quality assurance, where I'll be able to get to know what goes on. And at the end of the day, if communication system flows well, I'll be able to know what is happening at every level. And whenever there are issues of failing to do what appertains, then I'll use the experience also on discipline to ensure that these people do the right thing. But most importantly, I have learned that human beings do better when they are motivated than when they are intimidated. So in most cases, I ensure that first I'm reachable to them, I'm accessible to them, I'm humble enough to talk to them so that they can air their views, and that can help me to chart a better way forward.
Okay, in addition, this is a department where you will be working most of your time. You will be working with honorable members from respective ward, meaning that this is a more political setup that you are coming from, that provisional setup.
Yes.
How will you cope up with? Because I know one, being at principal and also coming to this sector of political. Before you stated that you have never participated in any political rally. So can you imagine an MC or an area member of a county assembly, not only from your ward, is demanding service to his people, but it is through you. Also, you have a governor who wants to implement his manifesto. You have an MCA who want to implement his or our manifesto. Kindly, how will you work in that setup?
One, I want to say, much as I've depicted myself as a professional, a career professional principal, I would also want to state that, as you have heard, I have had some elements of politics. Because being a chairman of Kesha, you are elected. And you know the gymnastics of getting election is political in nature. I even at one time attempted to become the secretary of Kenya National Union of Teachers in Bureti twice, and I lost. So I even know the pains of an MCO has tried and lost twice, and the third time is winning. I want to say that that experience that I've had in that part of politics within my profession will help me have a rapport with my seniors. In this case, I'm good in respecting my seniors. Like here, the governor, who is a politician also, is my boss. There is nothing I can do without his consent. And therefore, at every stage, I will liaise with the MCAs, because at the end of it all, it is the MCA who has the responsibility of being answerable to the electorates. Mine is just like an employee of the MCA. So I need to understand how I come in. I'm only there to support the MCA to succeed and also advise where possible, because in politics you can promise many things that are not possible. So when an MCA goes, say, to a ward and say, I'm going to build 20 nursery schools or ECD centers, and he comes back to the office, we shall be able to discuss, and as much as possible, I would encourage more communication and consultation, so that as the MCA is going to talk to the electorates, you'll be able to tell them what is possible. And you'll only know what is possible if we have worked together looking at the CIDP on what can be possible and what is not possible. So once we consult, I do not think we shall have any problem because we shall be able to work reading from the same script.
Okay, I think we have a rejoinder from Bafina.
Not actually a rejoinder, but a different question altogether.
Yes.
What's your view on the current system of education, that's the competency-based, the CBC? There's a raging debate whether it should be admitted. The current government has appointed a task force to take views. You've been in the field for 30 years. What's your view?
One, education systems come to serve the challenges that are there in the society at that moment. Like, I'm a product of 7-4-2-3. It reached a time when that was irrelevant, and we came to 8-4-4, which was addressing the challenges of that moment. My team opposed 8-4-4 because they thought the other old system was the best. But soon when the 8-4-4 picked up, they realized it's a good system anyway, because it was addressing the needs at that time. Now, 8-4-4 has been here from 1980s. It has to change because the societal challenges have changed. For example, we are heading towards the digital society. And in the digital society, we need people who have IT knowledge right from nursery school. And CBC addresses exactly that. When I was in United Kingdom, I realized that they went away from academics. They were more of skills and competencies. That was as early as 2007. So theirs is, when a child goes to school, what is he coming out with? So the child is trained to get competencies on particular areas, to raise the talent and to make sure that this talent is developed, so that this child can be able to be useful to himself and to the society thereafter. Now, coming to CBC, the intent of CBC is good, but the challenges that we are facing is because of probably the cycle of implementation. In curriculum development, there are 9 cycles that are followed before you implement a new curriculum. You prepare the public, and I think somehow there were some steps that were skipped, and that is why you find the public is asking questions. The public is like, it does not need it. But the truth is, we need CBC as early as possible so that our children can measure up with the needs of the world today, because we are in a globalized society. We want our children also to learn skills of IT. And our current education system, the 8-4-4, does not address those challenges. So I would say, much as there will be challenges of implementation, but ideally, CBC is good. What we need to do is, how do we take it on course so that it fits the curriculum development that has been recommended. So mine is to say, we may not at the moment scale it where it is reached effectively because of the challenges of implementation gaps that probably was skipped. But if these gaps were addressed, I would say CBC is good for this country.
Okay, thank you, thank you, Mr. Tonui. I think also we have another rejoinder or any other question from the other end. Okay, let me ask Honorable Philip to take us from question number 3.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Tonui. And I want to ask you, how many sub-departments does the department consist of, and proceed to list any ongoing projects in the department you are familiar with, and you will consider priority once appointed as chief officer. Secondly, enumerate on some of the challenges bedeviling the department, and how will you come in handy to address those challenges?
Thank you so much. 3 questions in one, detailed indeed. Thank you for that question. One, this portfolio that I'm seeking has 3 main departments. One is the education department, which is dealing with early childhood development, and I think youth. And the second one is on sports. The third one, of course, is culture and social services. Now, which which projects are ongoing? I think that was the second question. Looking at what goes on in the department, I think the key area in the education department is construction of ECD centers. And according to the CIDP, we were to construct 300 ECD centers per year. Like this year, we are expected to complete 300, next year 300, and in the medium term, by end of 2023, 2024, another 300. So I believe those are ongoing. Number 2, there should be some, and in the area of ECD centers, I've just learned that a number of them have been constructed, but there are some pending bills. They are yet to be cleared, and I'll give priority to ensuring that those ECD centers that meets the requirements of procurement and that has done the right workmanship to the satisfaction of the public works officers with a certificate of completion, we should be able to start by paying them, and according to the agreements. Number 2 is prioritize my priority area. Maybe another project that I think is ongoing is a youth development center, and I believe there should be one on culture that is still being constructed, cultural center, and I'm told at least by this year it should be doing around 80%, and probably in the next year it should be 100% and complete. But my area of emphasis shall be the ECDE centers. We want value for the money. We want to ensure that these children are operating in infrastructure that is up to standard, and that we are getting quality education. So I'll be able to scale up the area of quality teaching and learning by making sure that these children get enough teachers. And this brings me to the question of the challenges that we have in the sector or in the department. Number 1, and the leading one, is the staff. There is a serious challenge on staffing, especially on the teachers. When I looked at the figures, it's like we still have got a long way to go to employ more. Because actually, if you have an ECD center without an employed, substantively employed worker, it puts that center in questions in terms of quality work. So my area of emphasis will be to ensure that every ECD center has a substantively employed worker, that is teacher, who is trained and qualified. Of course, I know there will be budgetary limitations, But we shall be able to, from time to time, liaise with the finance department, and also in the budgets to come, we scale it to ensure that our ECD centers have as adequate teachers as possible. Then another challenge that we are having is that there is shortage of resource allocation. Sometimes you find that we have a lot to do, but we have limited resources. And the main reason mainly is on how we collect our own source revenue. If we can be able to build up on that and get more money, we can be able to do much more and make these children enjoy their learning. We also have competition from the private sector. Most of our young children choose to go to private schools against the public schools. My docket is dealing with these public institutions. And if I have to remain relevant, I must attract as many children as possible to the ECD centers in our county. How do we do it? We should be able to see a way of motivating these children to be in school. We should also legislate to ensure that any child who is of age to go to ECD center should be able to be taken to school, and make sure that while in school, they enjoy being in school. We do not want a situation where children go to school crying, because many children, when they are going to school, they are crying, because they feel home is better than school. I would endeavor to ensure that we make school a good place for children to be, and it's not expensive. We simply make the environment conducive, we make it attractive, and we make it child-friendly. So the third challenge that we have in the sector is, I think there's been too much emphasis on infrastructure rather than the other facets of efficiency, so that a lot of money has gone to infrastructure. And I would recommend probably we do a baseline study to understand the needs, because sometimes we are in the business of constructing many classrooms that are not completed, quantity vis-a-vis quality, and at the same time, we do not have enough staff. Say, for example, you pump 750,000 to construct new classrooms in a school that already has some working classes, and then they do not have a teacher. It becomes a bit tricky. So what I'm saying is we need to sit and do some priority and ensure that we put the money where it's going to give us quick returns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tonui. I've realized that you understand much on the ongoing projects and also upcoming projects that is in this financial year 2022-2023. We are in the third quarter. We are approaching the third quarter of the financial year. Is it possible that we implement the 300 ECT classrooms? Is it possible, according to you? And two, that is a rejoinder from the same question. You have talked that we have 1,200 ECD or welfare ECD teachers with our wage bill that is way of 41%. This county wish that we employ more teachers, but what will we do with the wage bill?
Thank you. Maybe I start from the last. One, the wage bill percentage is carrying, but we need the teachers. So we have to look for ways and means to ensure that we have the teacher in class without compromising on the legal provisions, like the Constitution and the legal provisions is that wage bill should not be above 35%. I'm sure we've even gone beyond that. But how do we bring down this? How we do it is by ensuring that we collect more revenue. When the revenue is more, even this percentage will come low, even below 30. What I said, and that is what I insisted, and we are going to liaise with other sectors and other departments so that we do more collection and more money. When we get, Kericho is very rich, by the way. It has a lot. Only that we need to close taps and close some openings and ensure that at the end of it all, we get more money. The percentage of that more money cannot be 41 when we have collected, say, like there was that target of 853 million. Supposing we collect, say, 1.5 billion, and we do a percentage of the same. That would be far much less than 35%, and it's achievable. But given that we are in the third quarter, as you have said, we may not do much, because already a lot of money could have been already committed. Some of these activities could have already been rolled out. But as I enter the office, God willing, I should be able to study and see those that which are possible to be implemented, and those that are not possible, I wouldn't overstretch, because overstretching means living beyond our means. And when we live beyond our means, more and more debts. And once we become so much indebted, we become slaves of our own selves. So we'll reduce as much as possible projects that we cannot pay for, so that we only implement what we have, the one that we have the money for, unless it is on emergencies. Thank you.
Okay, let me allow other colleagues, other members to ask you some questions. But when we come back, I will be asking you about the issue of the pending bills that you have stated that you will be handling. I think that question might come now in our way to other questions that will be having rejoined us. Let me ask Honorable Irene to take us through the next question.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Tonui, you've talked of the departments that are under your docket. For these sub-departments to function, there must be something that you do. So what laws will you put in place to ensure that these departments become operational or operates in the right manner? So what legislations will you put in place? Number two, you've acknowledged the fact that there are challenges that are facing this docket. So maybe in a small way, you may describe to us how you will work with your CEC so that these challenges are addressed accordingly. So I think those are the two questions that I have.
Thank you so much, Madam. I would want to say every sector that is currently in existence has policies in place that, if implemented, everybody seated there and working there earning salary should be able to operationalize the sector. If there would be challenges that are experienced, unless those beyond our means, but I would think if, say, I have a director in charge of education, or I have a director in charge of sports, we normally delegate based on the provisions, based on the policies that are already in place. So the first thing I'll do is to come and study the policies that govern operations of these officers. Try and see also and get my personal feel of how it's working. Get if there are loopholes, then I attempt to seal these loopholes. I would think that what I would only do is to operationalize first and foremost the policies and the legal framework that is in place. Because I'm sure we already have more than enough legal structures. Two, if I detect that there are areas that require more legislation, I should be able to forward to my CEC suggestions and proposals, which should be brought to the Assembly for purposes of legislation, because that is normally the work of the Assembly. And I cannot therefore work at my own whims and my own way of doing things, but rather I'll be operationalizing what has already been approved. So I would simply say, as I enter, I first do a study on how my sector is working. If there are areas that are lacking, I would be able to see what actually the challenge is. Is it that there is a legal gap, or it's somebody who is sitting on the job? If it is somebody sitting on the job, then we always go the way of waking him up so that he makes sure that he works. I'm happy I've had many workers in the past. And when you project seriousness, when you project humility, integrity, and honesty, people will tend to follow also suit, and they will also tend to be serious. But when you project laziness and unfairness, that is when people will undermine. And you know, they will be undermining me at the expense of the children. So I'll try as much as possible first to be a leading example and make sure that I support them, and where they need some legal framework, I'll be able to liaise with the CEC to that effect. Secondly, how do I work with the CEC to reduce the challenges in the sector? As I've stated, the CEC is my immediate boss. And if I have to succeed, I have to liaise and communicate. The communication between me and the CEC should be all time. It means I should be open to discuss with him, visit him in office. He can visit our office also, and we can work together amicably. Even if I have to make visits, I wouldn't wish to dash without this knowledge. Anything new that should be brought in, it's him who is doing it, because I'm supposed to help him understand how to manage the levels at lower levels which he may not reach because of his, the nature of his office, so that I bring from the ground the requirements and I place on his table. Then we discuss together, we implement together, and we walk the journey together. That is how I'm going to work with my CEC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I'm urging you, because in this docket, it is as if education is loud. These others like youth affairs, sports, culture, social services, they are nowhere, for example, in the past. So we are kindly requesting you to make these other departments, sub-departments to work, because in our county we have a great problem. We don't know anything about culture, so kindly revive those other departments. I know given this chance you are able. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll try my best, and as I've said, I promise not to disappoint. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me ask Honorable Kibet to take us the next question.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tonui, if this committee approves you to be the CEO, I know you know the key roles and responsibilities of a CEO, being the policy implementer. Now, one of the major roles or responsibility involve and revolve around management of finance. Are you prepare and submit budget, estimates, annual plans, reports and programs? Now, having gone through your CV, I haven't seen you attending a course on management of finance. I haven't seen you attending a course on management. I know you are a principal, and I've seen somewhere that you have attended some seminars on school management. Now, how will you execute, if given this opportunity, the responsibility?
Thank you so much. Financial matters are critical, and it's actually the engine of all operations. Even if somebody is competent and there is no money, you'll just be standing there doing nothing. So the question of financial management is critical. I would want to say first, I've attended a diploma course under KEMI, Kenya Education Management Institute. I did it for 2 years, and I graduated. And therefore, I have at my fingertips the management of finances in public institutions. 2, I've attended so many workshops under KC. Previously, it was KC. Before we came to KEMI, it was Kenya Education, I think, School something. It was about institute. We used to go there for training, because as a principal, you are handling money. Coming to the county government, which is a relatively new area, number one is that using the experience of 20 years as a financial manager in public institution, first and foremost, it will be easy for me to adjust and to be able to monitor the operations, the receipts, and the expenditure in the sector. I would want to say that the most important thing is budget. If we can be able to interrogate the budget well as a department, as all the players, especially the key players, it's going to be easy. And I'm sure the budget is already in place. My business will be to implement that budget and implement it effectively and as much as humanly possible. So I want to promise that when given this chance, I should be able to work on making sure that every coin that we receive in the department goes to the right place and we get value for that money.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tonui. I think with the next questions, you will be stepping down so that you'll answer once the members are through. Mr. Trump, Honorable Trump.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, Mr. Tonui, I have a question on the side of ECT. Actually, how can we assist these teachers for ECT? Because there are some who have worked for more than 25 years and they are not yet confirmed. How can they benefit? Because if somebody is working for more than 25 years and not yet confirmed, and he has a problem in the family, how can he survive or see?
Thank you. I have knowledge to the effect that there are ECD teachers who have worked for long without being confirmed. I'm sure there must have been reasons to that effect. But even if the reasons are as good, if somebody has been helping children for the past, say, 10, 15, 20 years, as a county government, we should be able to go down and listen to these people. There are only some few legal challenges on confirmation of workforce. Number one, those people who are above 45 years, in most cases, have a big challenge. Like in Teacher Service Commission, I'm yet to keep myself abreast with what happens in the public service. If you are above 45 years, it's a bit tricky because you are not pensionable. But I would want to promise that if somebody has worked for 25 years, qualified, and has not been able to be absorbed, then those are the people we are going to give priority. I've been engaged in the committees of employing of teachers, and how we normally employ them is we start first with those who have stayed out for long. We award more marks, so that when we advertise and say we have 3 vacancies, we can make the marking scheme in such a way that first it favors those people who have worked longer, and those people are almost getting to the par where they can no longer be absorbed. So once this is done, we shall be able to cater for those workforce that have not been absorbed for that long. But most importantly, I will first establish why somebody can be working for 25 years without being confirmed. And if circumstances will allow, we shall give them preference and priority.
Okay, Mr. Tonui, as I requested you, you'll be listing down so that, because we still have like 20 minutes to end up our vetting.
Okay.
Okay, let me take this opportunity also to request Evelyn, Honorable Evelyn, followed by Bafina, and followed by Kemoy to ask questions.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tonui,
yes, madam.
What is the vision statement of the department, and how will you use it in the formulation of county programs on ECD to conform to Vision 2030?
Okay, Honorable Bafina.
Do I answer that or I?
Let me ask you another question. I don't know whether you are aware that you are coming into a department that has been ranked the least performing in the county. Now, how will you competitively ensure the department garners a scaling height in terms of performance? What difference are you bringing that gives us confidence in you?
Okay, Honorable Kemoy.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tonui.
Yes.
Education is the key. And pertaining bursaries, we have orphans, needy children, and when we see the allocation of bursaries in our counties, it is not enough. What is your take, given an opportunity? Number 2, you'll be the ECT teachers will be, you'll be handling them. If one day will strike, demanding for their rights, how will you handle such a case? I remember very well, that is that question, when you stated that during your early education, you had to travel a distance to have your education. And I know you are aware that some other wards in our county, some of our children have to travel for almost 5 kilometers to find an ECD school. What is your take on that, if need be? The last question, it came to my attention that there is one of the school, an ECD class collapsed, and I think it was constructed by the county government. I don't know if you are aware of that. Some few days ago, given the opportunity, such a scenario happened, what is your take pertaining the constructor of that ECD classroom, and what could be the impact concerning the same? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tonui, let me request Honorable Member Gladys to add you one more question.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Mr. Tonui, looking at your rich CV, it only elevates your experience in matters of education. Now you are a nominee to Education, Youth Affairs, Sports, Culture and Social Services. Kindly tell this committee how other sub-departments apart from education will thrive under your watch as the chief officer. Thank you.
Okay, so that we give you enough time to answer, using example in your past engagements experience, please explain how you are visionary, result-oriented and strategically or strategic thinker.
Thank you. So let me start by the very first one. Was it by Mheshimiwa Irene? Somebody? I got Evelyn, yes, sorry. The question was mainly on, the vision. The vision is derived from our national vision, the Ministry of Education. It's globally competitive education and training, research and innovation for a sustainable development. So here we are trying to make our education globally competitive. That is our vision. Then number two was, this is the least performing. I think this one was from Pevina. I want to say that it's sad to learn that this was the least performing of all the departments. But that notwithstanding, I would say I'll take up the challenge. I'll make sure that I revamp it, not because I have any personal energy, but I would also ask for God's guidance. You know, to come from behind to the top requires some more than ordinary power. So I'll first and foremost rely on God's provision, and also I'll come in and study why we are the last. My team, the workers, should also be able to know that they are rated the last. No human being in this world would like to be told you are the last. So once they are aware of this, we ask ourselves why. Then we look for solutions that are homegrown, solutions that come from the ground. And when that happens, we shall therefore be able to commit ourselves with proper monitoring mechanisms to ensure that whatever we commit ourselves to do, we surely do it. Because there could be a possibility of writing very good testimonials, very good resolutions, policies, but if not implemented, it's as good as paper. So we shall try as much as possible to generate ways of improving on the level where we are and improve from there. We must understand why we went down and what we should do to come up. Number 3, from Honorable Kemoy, he said rightfully that education is the key, and he mentioned something on bursaries, and that not all needy children in this county and in any other and many other counties do not get the proper allocation. How are we going to change this? From the little knowledge that I gathered in the process of preparing for this meeting, I was told that the bursary fund allocation is a percentage of the budget that we have. I do not know whether the cap has already been reached, but part of the legislation that we can make is, can we stretch it further, or have we reached the ceiling? If we have not reached the ceiling, I would discuss with the CEC to ensure that we improve on the maximum that we can get for bursary. 2, the worst problem has been cartels. Cartels are people who come in and pretend to be poor when they are not. You'd find the beneficiaries could be people who are capable of paying the fees. So what we'll do also is ensure we work with ward committee to ensure that the people getting this are the rightful children who are from very poor, vulnerable backgrounds. So we'll also need to liaise very closely with the ward committee. And before we award the money, we should be able to have some checks mechanisms to check and ensure that this is surely the right people. And working closely with the MCA, because many MCAs have lost their seats because of awarding wrongly. They know Mr. Tonui got the money, 20,000, when he's a principal, and Obochebi got 2,000 when she actually has no money. So when such realities come to the ground, even if the MCA pleads with them, they'll never win. So we need to ensure that the system is foolproof so that cartels cannot come in to allocate to the wrong people. So if we can streamline the allocation system, it can be able to assist. Number 3, we need to look for more donors. We have so many rich people in our community, but the people who, they are hardly there to give us donations. There are very many rich and big companies operating within our area. Like one time, I want to give an example when I was in Britain, and I attended a church. It was just a simple church, but there was a letter from one pastor from Kenya who was asking for support. So they started asking themselves, how do we support these children? Because there were some photographs of very poor children. Then they discussed and agreed that they were going to sacrifice and donate whatever income they had. So they donated. Okay, I don't know whether they sent or what, because it was once when I attended that church. I never attended again. I attended another one, which was nearer the college. But I saw human beings who are ready to sacrifice for children who are thousands and thousands of miles away. While in our midst we have billionaires who cannot even help 2 children. We really need to change the mindset so that whatever little people can give, it can help that needy child. So we need also some mobilization to ensure that people within our midst who are capable can be urged and asked to come on board, and they can be able to assist. We can also link up with the governor if we can get more donors even from external, and we have a program and a structure that can assist those people. What they only want is to ensure that the money goes to the rightful people. So we can generate another product where we can get donations from even outside the country, because I believe by law this is allowed, so that more of our children can access bursaries. But I've said that if it is possible, we could improve from whatever we have from our budget. And if we can improve more collections and get more money, we can bring in more money on board, and it should be managed properly. Then teachers on strike was your second question. This is a common phenomenon, and I want to say that the human resource management is something that is critical to any manager. If you do not know how to manage human beings, you have no business being a manager. Because the first thing, it starts and stops there. When we say we have good ECDs, it is because we have good teachers there. And that good teacher can also operate maximally and effectively if the teacher knows, one, the teacher is appreciated and the teacher's role is recognized. So one, whenever we have something like a strike, we need first and foremost to establish what the cause of the strike is. If it is about remuneration, we'll address it accordingly. And as much as possible, I've said we have systems that can let us know the challenges before it reaches the level of the strike. Most strikes come because the bosses are not ready to bend and listen to people at the lower levels. So I will, as much as possible, create a system where communication can be easy and can flow with ease. And this can help reduce the strikes. However, if it happens, I would want to say that we shall engage their leaders, discuss with them, and get their challenges, and of course, let them know that we shall be addressing their issues with the time. If there are things that can be addressed immediately, because some go on strike over things that can be handled instantly. But if it is issues of salary, it will need some time, but we should talk to them to understand and create a very clear policy framework. Number 3 was on the expansive wards where children have to travel far. I'd want to say at the moment, because of the county government system, it was supposed to bring resources to the people. And under this system, if we cannot address our own challenges right here, then who else will do it? So what I'm saying is we prioritize those areas where they lack the necessary infrastructure, so that we give priority to construction on those areas where children have to travel far. ECD I handle children with very low age, and they require this to be within reach. And if there will be areas that will require, we'll give them priority. And
okay,
that is why
Mr.
I said,
Tonui?
yes?
Okay, let me request you give us in brief for purpose of time, and we still have like 3 or 2 questions concerning issue pending bills and issue confirmation of teachers.
Thank you. I'll do each in a minute. Thank you for that clarification. So that one I've said, ECD classes collapsed. Are you aware? Yeah, I've heard, but I do not have the details. But once in office, I should be able to visit and go through records to see how procurement was done and probably address it accordingly in liaison with the relevant officers, the public works, and all the others. Then we have this last one from Gladys. I said I'll do each a minute. The CV and matters of sports. My CV is mainly on education. But I would say in schools, we sponsor music festivals, we sponsor drama, we have athletics competitions, which in a way, if packaged, will still be able to address this question of youth, sports, and culture. So I already have a background of sports, as having been the chairman of Kesha, for example. I was the one to facilitate all the sporting activities in the county from the grassroots to the national. So at least I have that background of having addressed and handled, and we should be able to work together to ensure we promote it. She also said currently it's not strong and it's not operational. I shall endeavor to make it strong by creating competitions, of course, depending on the budgetary allocations, and motivating the participants. Lastly, is on the past experience. How can you say you are a strategic thinker? I would say first, I've always gone to situations that are of very low level. When I went to Chemoiben Secondary School, they had only 11 students. I was the only TSC teacher, and you can imagine how much fees you can collect from a day school with 11 students. It was that difficult. But we managed, and I told you by the time I left, it was 279. The first time I took my audit report in mathematics exercise books, the auditors refused and told me, take this back, bring another one next year, because many things could not even meet the threshold. But even with that background, we made sure we brought up a big school. I also went to Cheborge when the population was 290, and I left it when it was 725. A very vibrant institution. I went to Kaisalat also, a school that had a lot of challenges. Amap, even as I see today, is a very vibrant institution. The population has grown. And when I come to this sector, I will be able to bring that experience to ensure that whatever challenges are there, it is in my nature to bring something from below as I go up. I've never gotten an opportunity to go to the top and big institutions as you have had. I've always been taken to go and start. And I'm happy even I'm coming to the last, to a sector that is the last in the system. And I want you to count on me in the next 5 years. You should be able to see the change, God willing. We should be able to change it for the better. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tonui, concerning issue pending bills, I think you are aware about the budget of the department. You will tell us the estimate budget of the department. I know that you have done a research. We have a monster, I can call it a monster, whereby this department that you are being feted for, in some years back, that is in 2018, 2019, recruited youth to go through a paramilitary training in Chebwagan. This program was done by Department of Education, and finally they handed over a number of youth to the PSM for employment or contract employment. From there, the issues, pending bills came in, whereby those people who are facilitating these youth in Chebwagan have not been paid to date, since some of responsibility of the department has been taken back to the ICT. My question is, how will you ensure that these people who worked in 2019, 2020 are yet to get their dues, since they facilitated the whole process of these youth until they graduated in Chebwagan? Another question concerning pending bills. In 2019, 2020, I think, we had what we call Kekoska, whereby it is Kenya something, Kekoska. I think you'll find out when you go to the site, to that department, if given the opportunity. And I know we wish you all the best. If given the opportunity, you have to tell us, how will you ensure these people who work during this Kekoska, putting up a very good stadium, putting up a very good toilets in Green Stadium, ensuring that all participants, those who participated during those games, were given the correct attires, the correct items that the sports department wanted. So I want to know, you have said that you are going to pay only pending bills that followed the procurement. I want to know, what will you do to ensure these local contractors get their dues?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have
a rejoinder.
question. Yes. Maybe before you answer that, I would also like to know how you would, your input on the addressing the youth unemployment. It's a time bomb because youth are graduating, youth are all over scattered in the villages, unemployed. How do you address that, or what would be your input on that?
Okay, again, we have a rejoinder from Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. We have, Mr. Tanu, we have emphasized on the issues pertaining ECD, maybe secondary schools, bursaries. There is Kibet, which fall under your token. What are your plans? Because we have some of the polytechnics that are dormant, they don't have students, they are not facilitated, they don't have professional trainers, and yet our youths are spoiled in the village, yet they can be resourceful in this institution. Thank you.
Okay, a rejoinder on that again. We have a very good number of TVETs in our county. We have, let's say, Center of Excellence, 6 of them. But according to me and according to my understanding is that this Center of Excellence, we don't have enough teachers or tutors. What will you do if given this opportunity as the CEO in charge of education, sports, and social services. And please.
Thank you so much. Very quickly, because of time constraints. Number one is on the question of pending bills, which the chairman have said is a monster, is an elephant in the room. When I was perusing through some records, I realized that this sector has one of the highest pending bills. The budget that we got is around 405 million for recurrent expenditure, around 244 million for development expenditure. Well, if this is anything to go by, if we were to clear the bills, even the 244 would not be enough, because I think it's much more. Some figure around 300 million was put by some sources, though I cannot confirm it, meaning we really have to prioritize between the current needs and the challenges of pending bills. That is number one. Once we prioritize, we do it progressively. At one level, we are clearing, say, from the first one. If the Chebwagan one has taken 5 years, we'll start from that one. So we count it backwards, so that we award according to the number of years you have been waiting. But first, one must meet the procurement procedure. He must be able to show us the agreements. He must be able to show us like the completion certificates approved by the Public Works. Once they are there, and I'm sure the governor already has a list, and they have been given an opportunity to come and report themselves and prove that they are actually legally having something to be paid for. So once that list has been generated and it has been proved that they are actually to be paid, we shall prioritize and pay according to the resources that we have. That's number one. Because if we pay everything, it's like we are going to run at a standstill. And having debts is normal. Even the Kenyan government has huge debts and it's still running. What we are saying is, how do you manipulate the situation to ensure you are still running and paying the debts and you get the trust of the supplier? So we shall prioritize. Number two is on the Chebwagan trainees. I would say the answer is just like that. We will look at whether this was a legal exercise, and I'm sure it was, and whether money was allocated, and if not, why? And if we can be able to do it, why not? So we'll still have to consult with the relevant departments, get the necessary documentation, and we shall be able to go the farthest we can. But we do not want to keep somebody waiting when we can afford to bail him out. We shall bail out those we can afford. Then there is the question of how do we assure those who facilitated are paid. I think that's it. Once we get a go-ahead, we shall be able to pay them according to the formula I've given. Kekoska is the same. I think all those people who still require to be paid is the same. I remember we have budgeted something for perimeter fence for the stadium, Kericho Green Stadium, Londiani, Sosiot. We would even try and see if it's a priority at the moment to fence it or pay first those who still have something to be paid for. Then youth unemployment, how do you address it? What I think Kemoi asked is almost an answer to what Madam Devina asked. If we can be able to revamp our VTC, vocational training institutes, to be workable, many of our youths will get there, get the skills, and they'll go and use that skill for self-employment. That is number one strategy. We improve the vocational training institutes in the county, ensure they are workable, active, and we get more of those young people go there. There is, of course, a provision from the government that these people can be sponsored. And if our polytechnics are not operational, then we are not taking advantage of what the government has said. Because once we let them be operational, most youths will go there. That is one answer to youth unemployment. But I would say it's a problem that requires, it's almost of a national outlook, because we need to see the super system of the economy. But as a county, again, I said, we try as much as possible to use the locally available resources. We also try as much as possible to create jobs by ensuring our economy is growing, because once we collect more funds and we ensure that everything is operational well, then we can employ more youths. Like I have over 700 vacancies for ECD teachers, And if we can be able to manage an economy that can employ 700, we shall be addressing the question of unemployment of the youths. But it's something that requires some national concern. Then lastly is the question of TVET that are dormant. And I've said we shall look at them in a way as to bring them back to life. We should also link them with the TTIs that we have. Like we have one at Bureti, which is well equipped by the national government. We have one at, I think, is it Kimasian, somewhere here. Some of these that are giving technical and they are diploma and above, which are run by the national government, they have workshops that are well equipped. If we can even match them and encourage that these people can utilize those resources, we create a system where our young polytechnics can be able to take advantage of the nearby national polytechnics, then can be good. I want to say, Chairman, that this is an area that I will also put a lot of emphasis to ensure that these centers are operational. Thank you.
Okay, I think so far so good. If there's any other member that wish to have a last question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is not a question, but I want to sincerely commend you for the philanthropic works you've been doing. I'm a philanthropist myself, and I really commend you. Going to an extent of adopting children when you have your own is a great show of humanity, and I want to cheer you on. I wish you well.
Okay, last remarks. Mheshimiwa Idina, do you have last remarks? Mheshimiwa Evali? Okay. Mheshimiwa?
Mr. Tonui, mine is just to wish you the very best of luck as you await for the outcome.
Okay, Honorable Vincent, do you have a last remark? Honorable Irene?
So thank you so much, the education nominee. I can say, being a teacher, you are all-rounded. You've done a lot to the society, and may God remember you or see you through this exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. I wish you all the best, Mr. Tonui.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the best, Mr. Tonui.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tonui. I wish you all the best, but maybe I have the last question pertaining the ECD teachers.
Yes.
Some of us, when we were campaigning, we told them that we are going to employ them permanent and pensionable. I know that one is a tough task, but the way you handle some issues, I'm seeing with you will be heading the right direction, given an opportunity. I hope you'll respond to that. If you have some plans on how we can make the permanent and pensionable come through. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to give you congratulations, Mr. Richard Tonui, the way we have worked, even the way you have answered questions. I am wishing you success. All the questions which we have asked, you answered in the right way. Therefore, I am wishing you success. Even myself, actually, I was having a problem, especially in my area. I have many teachers for ECT who have worked for many years and not yet confirmed. And I hope I will get assistance to your office. May God bless you.
Okay, members,
Chair.
let's restrain ourselves by making the nominee feel that we have wind up the process.
1 minute, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, Bwana Tonui, thank you so much, and I'll request you that you will be assisting us also to be a motivator, even in our most of our schools. And I hope you will give us room that will move together. So don't operate in office alone. Thank you.
Because of time, let me request also our co-chair to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Tonui. Nakutakia mema. Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Mheshimiwa Evani.
Thank you, Mr. Tonui. I wish you well.
Thank you, Madam.
Me too, let me wish you the best. I believe we shall work together hand in hand. All the best.
Okay, Mr. Tonui, let me take this opportunity also to wish you well. And also, I know with the members' comments, I know we'll be going to write a report. And let me say we wish you well. But when given the opportunity, kindly don't put your phone off. Be available to the members and be available to the public. Okay, members, being no other business, I adjourned this sitting, and let me request a county assembly officer or sergeant at arms to hand over the official documents to Mr. Tonui. Mr. Tonui, or do you have anything to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It wouldn't be complete without me thanking this team for being very professional. I must say personally, I'm touched by the way you have asked questions that are professional. I have read from your hearts that you want the best for this county. I want to promise you that I will not disappoint. I want to promise you also that I know the challenges you have at the ward level, and mimi mtu wako wa mkono. When I'm employed, I'll know my limits, and I'll be able to consult with you always. Two, I also want you to note that I'm a well-traveled person. I have traveled to 12 countries in this world, and I want to state that when I went to Finland, I learned a lot about education. When I've been teaching in secondary school, I've seen that there is need to scale this experience even much more to a more open ground, because secondary schools are confined by some rules and regulations depending on the duties. But if you can grant me this opportunity, I shall be an asset to the county. If you can grant me when I still have got energy, because I have got 6 years to retire. If I got it after retirement, I'll be too weak to serve. If you can give me now, I have the energy, the passion, and I can be able to give you the best that you would have wished. Two, as I conclude, I want to say that I would wish that you get an opportunity to be assessing my work annually, so that you get to know whether this is a sweet-tongued person or this is a man of action, so that every year you can be able to see, are you still the last? What happened? I'll be more than ready to answer those questions, but I promise to do the best. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Tonui. We are very sorry we might not be assessing you annually, but quarterly for the betterment of delivery.
I would even wish it monthly.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, asanteni sana.